So, what a year it had been. This had been out earlier in the year, 2023. And it was lovely just getting this article. It was on the front cover and a nice spread, um, which was really lovely. And I was just feeling very motivated. It was also my 50th birthday. And I had a big party for my 40th birthday. For my 50th birthday, I was just really inspired to just try and keep going with this. So instead of throwing a big party, I just paddled on basically around the coast. So I thought this would be a lovely gift to myself to do, as well as all the fundraising and everything. But just a challenge for myself that was inspiring. So th this year I had completed the East Coast. I'd literally powered down the East Coast. I'd finished the south, well, mostly finished the South Coast, and now it was time to head up to the North Coast because it was coming into the winter months. This was October. I'd finished Mizen Head in the summer, and now it was October, and I was heading up to just shorter days, so it was easier to do something closer. So Malin Head was the next point. So I had done along the north coast of this is Northern Ireland here, and this is the south of Ireland, although it goes a bit above. In this case, up into Donegal. And I had done 25 miles in one day, which is along here to Port Ballantrae across the Foyle. So I'd crossed the Foyle here. That's where I started. Crossed the Foyle back and forth, and then down and finished in Port Ballantrae. And that was a few years before, and that was a fundraiser for my friend who was actually from the south. And I thought it'd be nice to go from the north to the south. She's from County Clare. Anyway, then so this is where I'd left off in the north coast, and I was now ready to paddle up through Donegal. So yeah, so I booked Malin Head, and I found a great little place up there. But yeah, this is some of the routes that this is really, I think this was the whole thing that I was really hoping to do. Basically, you've got the Foyle here, Lough Foyle. It's very strong currents coming out of here. And then you've got Lough Swilly here on either side. Strong currents coming out as well. So, and then of course this is Malin Head up in the very north. So there's a lot of um strong currents flowing across any kind of peninsula. And it being the very northern tip of Ireland, there'd be very strong currents and things. So I was a little nervous about doing it. That's just before I go, I'm constantly just mapping possible routes out and measuring it and having a look to see. And then I booked this place, which was perfect. It was just right in here. It was a harbour master's house, and it was Malin Head, right on Malin Head Pier. So here's the pier. So basically, I'm literally on the harbour, and this is just below Malin Head. So this part, and there's the boats, and it was an active and busy harbour, fishing harbour. Boats coming and going the whole time, day and night, even in October. So, and this is what the sea looked like when I arrived. It's a bit grey and overcast. And this is me driving around doing my little recce just to get an idea. And when I arrived, it was high winds. You can't really see it in this photo, but it was 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and I just didn't fancy being out in that. So, but I was driving around taking photographs. Now, I didn't realize, but in this picture, I took a photo of this man here, and his van. Now, I took a picture of him because I was just very impressed. Well, I was doing my recce. I'm just having a look to see what the sea looked like. But there he is, just going in for a swim. And that's what the sea looked like today. So it was kind of overcast. It was, as I said, very windy. You can't really tell the wind in this, mind you. This is Portronan, so this is like a port right across. So you've got Malin Head Pier, like at the peninsula, and then there's a port, little harbour on either side. Now this is a close-up of the guy jumping in. Look at that. Now, it wasn't until later on, months after, when I was telling somebody about talking about the paddle, I had been following someone on social media called Paddy Conahan, and he has a blue van just like that, and it's called Ducking and Driving, and he drives around Ireland, all of Ireland, swimming in the sea, cold water swims, and he's raised thousands and thousands of pounds for charities, and he's 84, and I'm pretty sure that's him. So it was quite amazing. Like, there I am doing my paddle around Ireland. There he is, that we actually overlap the same place on Malin Head. This is Ronan Pier, Portronan, and there he is diving in. I'll give you another shot. 84. It's not amazing. I'm pretty sure that's who it is. No, it wasn't until after I was just taking the video because I was very impressed at the time, and then afterwards I was like, gosh, that was Paddy. What a star. Anyway, this is what it looks like a bit higher up. So basically just driving all around Malin Head. Anything that's going to be tricky, it's always good to get there a day or two before, at least, and just really get a good lay of the land and the sea, have a look at it. Try to check out the route as much as possible before setting off. And yes, green countryside, very quiet, hardly anyone around. That's what the sea looks like. The rocks. It looks quite good. Bit choppier there if you look at the water now from the distance, so it's probably not so smooth at all in there, but real cottages, cows. You need a picture of the cows, but you get the gist. So, yeah. And this is the Malin Head. This is kind of what it's famous for, this site. And it's called Banba's Crown. It's Ireland's most northerly point. And you can kind of just see it up here in the distance. So I took a drive up there. Now this is where it would be kind of like a lookout station for boats as they were heading off, or even planes as they're flying by, during the World War One, World War Two, and ships heading off across the channel. It's the last stop. And I guess people would have come down here to wave at their family or friends heading off across the ocean. So Bench of Hope. And there's a nice little walkway. I'm sure there's a few tears shed here as people were heading off. And back in the time where it had been hard, you wouldn't have cell phones and FaceTime and phone calls and things like that, like we do nowadays. This is the road. This is Malin Head. So it's a lot more exposed here. You can kind of feel the gusts that day, but that's kind of what I've been wanting to paddle around there. So just getting a good look at it. And yeah, so oops, let's see. This is sort of explains it a little bit. Ireland's most northerly points. Back then they would have put flags up, I think, as each ship went past. Like that was how they would communicate with the ships. So the small salty island of Innistrol, north of Malin Head, is the oldest place in Ireland. The rocks are nearly 1.8 billion years old. From shipwrecks to legends about mermaids, Malin Head is a place of heart. And the Titanic exchanged signals here with Marconi Wireless Station during her sea trials in 1912. And sea state is moderate to rough. Malin features regularly in shipping forecasts. So when you're calling the Coast Guard, there's Malin Head Coast Guard. Relatives lit bonfires in the headland as a last farewell to immigrants sailing to North America. From ocean liners to German U-boats, the treacherous waters around here are the graveyard for here. Um, Around here are a graveyard for shipping. Hundreds of basking sharks swim in the deep waters of Malin Head, and there's a picture of the basking shark. And that's the same picture. You can see there's some German warplanes, I guess. And there's a little bit about the geology. And this one was quite interesting. Well, yeah. So Malin has location serves up many resources for marine and bird life. The sea here combines warm ocean currents, cooler coastal water, and fresh water draining into Lough Foyle and Lough Swilly. So you've got the two lochs on either side. This mix creates unusual marine diversity. The plentiful food attracts whales, dolphins, and other species whose migration routes must round this point. So that's the thing. It's the northerly point of Ireland. Everything goes round it, birds as well, and dolphins and whales. Only ocean lies between here and the Americas, so Malin Head provides a welcoming resting point for migrating birds. This landmark also helps them locate feeding grounds around the lochs. And this is a bit more of what the weather was like. I was supposed to be paddleboarding that day, which is why I took the video. I was hoping there was twice I thought I was going to have support doing this. I had my friend Almany, big wave surfer, had said okay about joining and doing part of the paddle, and he's going to bring some other paddle boarders. But when we got close to the time, it was 5 foot swell, and I just thought I just don't think that's a good idea going around this coastline in big swell. And then that day I was supposed to have company as well. Andy Bigham was going to come in this kayak, but it was 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and I just didn't think well, it wouldn't be safe, and there would be a small craft warning anyway. So I had to cancel it unwillingly. Micah virus, so there's homes are crumbling. I think it's something to do with the building material wasn't good, and so some of the houses were affected. And I think around here they also filmed Star Wars. Anyway, this is back at where we're staying. This is the Harbour Masters house right here, which is where we were Airbnb, which was fab. Jack's coming down, having an inspection of the coast, literally right on the water. It was perfect. And there's lots of ships and boats, and this is what it looked like looking out from where we were. So, uh, sense of the sea and the pebbly beaches. You'll find that with Headland, one side can be quite rough and the other side can be quite sheltered. And there's some of the boats on the harbour. Big these trailers are what actually stood out later on whenever I was finding my way back into the harbour. These trailers actually are quite easy to spot from the sea. And so then, the Coast Guard station's right there, and I thought I would just go and say hello and tell them my crazy plan of paddling around it just to see what they said and hopefully get some more information, better off chatting to them. So I went in and they were really lovely. So there was Coast Guards were Danny, Dara, and Sean who were all working that day, and they were very kind. Dara's giving me a tour. Danny, the computer, they were checking out. So I was hoping to, I think it was the next day. I was telling them what my plans were, and they were letting me know what they thought. I think the wind was still too strong for a couple of days, so I was going to try and do the coast back down towards Lough Foyle the next day. So right up here, this bit up here. So I was talking to them about that, and there we are. The Coast Guard, and they were showing us around, some of the rescues that had happened over the years. There's a U-boat rescuing a member from a nuclear submarine on the Irish coast. So yes, serious communication place. This is where our crowd are swimming in the sea. This is me, and this is me just checking out mileage and distance. That's what I would really like to have done the next day, but and in actuality, I just ended up doing half of that. But here I am. Hi there. So just getting ready to set off. This is Bunagee Marine, well, Bunagee Pier, which is in Kildare. And we're just getting here ready to set off. Got my on-land support. I was hoping to have company for this part of the paddle, but unfortunately the winds were too strong yesterday when I had somebody was available to join me. That was Andy. Thanks, Andy. It's going to help out, but it was too windy for my liking. So we're heading off today. It's going to be a bit patchy, but I'm going to do, conditions are looking favourable. So I've been to the Malin Head Coast Guard and told them what I'm doing, and I've called them. And yeah, looking forward to getting paddling back up to where we're staying from Kildare, heading up to Captain's Cove, which is Malin Pier. Wish me luck. All proceeds going to the RNLI. Bye. So they're just literally dropped me off and then heading back. They're just heading up the paddleboard, which was helping me. They're gonna drop me in. This is early morning. They're dropping me off here, probably first light kind of time, and then they're just gonna go back to the pier where we're staying, and I'm gonna paddle back up the coast and meet them there. That's me setting off. Kildare. It was lovely. Little pier, marina, and this is the coast. This is a headland jutting out. I can actually see this from my house. I think it's called Ballymena Headland. Is that the head? And these are the rocks. And from Portrush, from my house, I can kind of see this is the coastline of Donegal going up towards Malin Head. So that's the harbour behind me in the distance. Quite flat, which is good. Oh yes. I saw dolphins right around here. Of course, you get your camera out and that can't be seen. And I hate stopping. I'm literally will stop for nothing. I'll try and take a few photos, but I'm just trying to keep going because if you stop, it just takes it's a slow going as it is. So oh, you might have seen one in there. I only take out my camera now and again, or if I see something that's of interest, you know, like with the hiding. Anyway, I think in the next picture you can see a little bit better. That's what it looks. There's a dolphin. It looks like a dolphin. Okay, and this is me paddling up the coast. Hi there. Just having my little snack on the water. I just passed around a piece of Headland here behind me, Ballymena, which was quite rippy and choppy. Back into fairly smooth conditions now, paddling up to Malin Pier. I left from Kildare harbour. There's a lovely pod of dolphins paddling between me and the coastline. So, been a nice morning. So far, so good. Wish you luck. All proceeds going to RNI. So I think I look tired. I am tired. You know, every holiday I hasn't been relaxing. I've been getting up at first light and then paddling. I've covered a lot of ground this year, but it's you know, my holidays are full on and then straight back to work. So there's more communication towers the whole way up here. I think you can just about see that's Malin Head up there in the distance. Here I am out in the sea. One boat.
Donegal Bay and Balmullah Coast Guard videos. For repetition of the area forecast, down by Malin Head 05, Donegal Bay 02.
So I've got my radio on all the time and you hear all the sort of announcements that are going on. But at this time of the year, there's not too many other boats. So this is where I'm heading. I'm nearly home. This is our little pier where I'm staying. Start to recognize some of these rocks and stuff. Into Malin Head Pier. So that was good. Coming in, and here we are. Look at the sea, it's lovely, clear blue, crystal clear. And I used this app, it was quite good, Safe Tracks. So you punch in all your information, you know, what you're racing on, your start time, your end time. And it sort of does a little map for you, but it also keeps you in touch with the Coast Guard as well. This took me about 4 hours, that one. And so here we are, chilling out now. And then planning tomorrow. So the next day, I think I'm going to do this route. So it's the other side. So I went down this side today, and now so I went down the Swilly side. Sorry, the Foyle side. This is the Swilly side of Malin Head this time. So Swilly's here, trying to cover the whole way from one lock to the other. So hoping to do this Portronan because it's still a bit too crazy to do Malin Head. But this looked quite sheltered. In fact, I thought the wind would be in my favor. So I was just sort of measuring out distance, trying to find a place where they can drop me in, and then I can paddle back. So here I am getting dropped in on the beach. Hi there. So heading off Malin Bay. And just before Malin Head to Portronan, and that's the plan this afternoon. So it's been a patchy day, but I've done a bit of out of Malin Head and I'm going to try sides today. Wish me luck, obviously it's going to Armalay. So it might even be in the same day I was doing that. Anyway, here I am. It looks tired. And this is the plan. So we've got Lough Foyle on one side, and then I'm paddling off the beach here. Lough Swilly's just there. And I'm paddling out here now and back towards Malin Head. And I have to say, I mean, I'm quite far out, but the beaches around here are all very stunning. I think it's called Five Fingers Beach or something down here, which is a famous beach. Is it Ballyliffin? There's famous golf courses around here as well. It's a really lovely area. Malin Head's up Dublin. And it's Portronan, so I'm getting this. Yeah, just the end of this beach. It actually was quite a good paddle, that one. Down behind me towards Lough Swilly. Yeah. It wasn't too long, it didn't take me too long. It was a wee bit rough getting in. That's the harbour there.
Now I'm just gonna come on across over to you near the front of the. You see where that big place is, where there's a big wall.
This is Jack's job, is on the walkie-talkie helping me in. So he's got to tell me where is the best place for me to land. So he's guiding me in. Thankfully I can see him. There are times when they're guiding me in and I'm like, I have no idea. I cannot see anywhere. And there they are on the harbour, Portronan. That's where that man was doing his jumping in, ducking and diving, Paddy Connahan. And that's me paddling in. Another bit done. It's a lovely pier. Okay, and then heading back to the cottage for a rest, for a swim. And then that night we went out to the pub. Again, also a little bit more local knowledge. The pub. This is Ireland's most northerly bar. Having a beer. And I think this was Jack's first game of pool. And this man was very sweet and asked Jack to play him. He said, I think his words were he'd lost every match that day and he fancied his chances against Jack. Jack was having a go. But anyway, he was also very interesting. He was telling me about how crazy the currents are going around Malin Head. You know, both well, the Coast Guards had told me what direction they had suggested going clockwise around Malin Head. So from Portronan round to Malin Pier. I think this man had said that he had gone out in his boat one day, I think from Malin Pier, it was going the other direction, something like that. And the waves and the wind just totally spun his boat around a full 360 degrees, and he just thought, right, okay, time to go back. So there are crazy currents and everything. Anyway, so this is me checking out the tides, high tide, low tide, when it's kind of slack. You can see it's low tide at 9 in the morning, and it's first light at about 8, quarter to 8. And that's the plan. So I'm going to go this way from this port. This is why I was advised to go around this way and come in here. 10k shouldn't take me like 7.2 miles. That should take me too long. Good morning. Here I am at Portronan and about to set off when it's light. Still, well, it's 7 o'clock and it's October, so it's still kind of dark, but this is my Malin Head. And the favorable tide. I'm just going to call a Coast Guard. So you always call the Coast Guard just before you get in. There's no point calling them before. Good morning. Here I am at 7 a.m. Quite dark. Waiting for first light to paddle around Malin Head, which is just right here. So it's the same sort of thing. Here's the sun starting to come up, but unfortunately, it also becomes more aware of the fog. It's a foggy day. So heading off, but there's the fog now, thankfully. Good morning. So here I am at Portronan and see behind me, hoping to paddle from here around the coast on Malin Head and finish at Malin Pier. I just called the Coast Guard. The only problem is today that it's foggy and the fog's supposed to stay all day. So they said it's my call, but I've got to decide now whether I think it's safe enough to do it. I really hope so, because everything else is pretty good, wind and tide. Anyway, fingers crossed. This is as well my third attempt at trying to get this done. So I was really keen, but you don't want to be foolish either. If it's dangerously foggy. Anyway, the Coast Guard said it's my call, but they did say, if you get stuck out there, they're going to have to get a lifeboat all the way out from Lough Swilly, which would take ages, and you're also putting them at risk as well. But anyway, here I am, gung-ho, and I look exhausted and I look really stressed. Anyway, here we go. Forehead visibility isn't great, and I also couldn't really take my phone out because there's more harbours behind me and I'm heading in this direction. So yeah, this is the most northerly point of Ireland. You can see the water's all dipply. It's very rippy up here, so I'm not going to stay on for long. Basically trying to balance on my board with and film at the same time. So I'm talking quickly because I'm like, oh, I need to get this over and done with. So here I am at the very northerly point of Ireland, paddling around Malin Head. See it behind me. It's quite low visibility today with fog, so I've got to keep an eye out for boats and things. Coast Guard's warned me. Just looking forward to getting this done. You can see from the sea, there's a lot of rip currents and things around here, so I'm going to be on my way. Wish me luck. All proceeds go into RNLI. Thank you, and thank you to the Coast Guard for all their great advice. Thanks, bye. So it's quite turbulent and rip currents, and you know what? There was like freak waves coming out of nowhere, and I was literally staying really close to the coastline the whole way around. Also, just because I'm not so likely to encounter a boat. Just about to see somebody's house. There, Malin Head. This is me going around Malin Head. The current was crazy in Malin Head. When it's really bad, I don't even take my phone out because it's just too dangerous. I'm going around Malin Head. No visibility. And you can see it's actually felt like it was getting worse. Hi there, just taking my phone out now because it definitely was not safe to take my phone out
going round that headland, Malin Head there. Oh, wow, it was very choppy. You know, I cancelled this paddle. This is the third effort. The first time I had company, but the swell was too big. The second time I had company as well, but I thought the wind was too strong. Today it's the fog. Now the visibility has gone down from about 200 meters to about, I would say, 20 meters or so. So anyway, that's why I'm not staying to chat for too long. I'm going to keep paddling round. It's also a little eerie round here, and bearing in mind that there's been more ships sunk here than anywhere in the world. It's kind of like you're going over a graveyard, which isn't that appealing either when you're the only person out here in the fog. Anyway, bye for now on that cheery thought.
It was very eerie, I have to say, and especially when it's all foggy and you can't see, and there's cows up there in the distance.
You see it with cows up there in the headland.
You can see nothing really. So eerie, a little bit scary. I don't want to put myself at risk and anyone else. There I am. I'm sending them a message that I'm not very far. I'm getting closer, but like I said, the visibility was getting worse. I think you can just about see in the distance. Those were the trailers I was sort of pointing out before. Look at this.
So this is the visibility. But just over there, you can see those big pools. That's how I know I'm coming in. That's the harbour wall right there. But you can see how hard it is to see. Anyway, such a relief to get round Malin Head.
So yeah, those are the trailers. And
So here I am coming in. You can hardly see it, but that's the harbour wall. I just saw some vans over here on the land. That's the first sign of life I've seen, just because that's me coming around Malin Head and into our harbour at Portmore, Malin Pier. Oh my gosh, that took longer than I thought. I'm so relieved, and I bet the Coast Guard will be happy when I call them to let them know I'm in. Anyway, yay, Malin Head, now done.
so that was a relief. Even in the harbour, look, you can see how poor the visibility is. But yeah, such a relief to get in. And I think those vans, it was the headlights I saw, you know, so sometimes when it's foggy like that, you're just looking out for, got to have your eyes peeled. Was it those big pools that I saw? Sure. They're coming in.
Here I am, Malin Pier behind me. Such a relief. That just seemed to take for ages. It took me about 2 hours. That was going to be 90 minutes, but when the visibility's poor and you're just worried that it might get even worse, and you're just around rocks and the tide is all, it's not proper sea, it's all just rip currents all around you. Oh, but you know, I cancelled that 3 times because the first time I was going to go out with support, the swell was too big. Second time I had support, but the wind was too strong. And today was the visibility was okay. I thought getting in, but it's a bit much now. It was quite hard finding the way in. But the Coast Guards did warn me, and I did say, you know, this is your choice. But and I've heard horror stories of people being out in their paddleboard and the fog coming down so strong they can't even see their own feet. So obviously, there is that fear as well. And the Coast Guard said if they have to call somebody out, you know, you're putting somebody at risk, and also it's you could be sitting out there for a long time on a little rock if you're lucky, waiting. So anyway, horror story over. Really glad I did it, and I'm in. Thank goodness, tick the box. Malin Head, done in the fog. Let's say it's been different experiences for everything the whole way around. Anyway, such a relief. I'm going to call them now. Bye.
Yeah, so that's me back at home. So that's them filming me coming in. Do not recommend going paddleboarding in the fog. Generally, it's a big no. As you can see, it can get worse rather than better. Sometimes you look at it and go, oh, it doesn't look too bad.
Well done.
Malin Head done.
On and like normal it's all rip tide, crashing waves of the rocks, such as glad. I really this one's for better side, it was a call was clear. See getting in where I was coming in, it was only for those big pools over there on the side. I realized
Okay, well done.
Coming in, having a good old moon. And the sheep, Ireland, and the spider webs. And then we had to walk back and get the car over here. And there's a few kayakers actually heading out. So that later that day, this was my last day, you see. So I did Malin Head in the morning and I still had this chunk to do from Kildare back down to the Foyle. So no rest for me. We had to pack up the house and get in the car and drive down. So I was trying to get timing it with trying to get slack tide coming out of here, because coming out of the Foyle or any loch, it can be really, really slow with all the currents that are moving around here. So I think I was trying to get slack, and then I was hoping to get a bit of push with the wind back up to Kildare, which is where I finished last time. It's about 20 kilometers. I was using Savvy Navi just to see where the tide was. It was slack around 1. That might have been when I was heading up. So this is called Shrove Beach, I think. And it's the last.
so here I am at in a show in the head. You can see here. Oh, it looks nice out there. That's the mouth of the Foyle. Remember, last year I paddled across the Foyle. And up here behind me is the lighthouse Struve. I'm on Struve Beach. So I'm going to be setting off here, out of the mouth of the Foyle, and then heading up to the left, back up to Kildare. And when I've done that, I will have finished all of the whole Malin Head area. So I'm feeling tired, but conditions look good. So looking forward to getting it done.
Of course, I'm tired. I have literally paddled for hours every day. And this is my second paddle that day. On land support being very patient. Dropped me off. They're just sussing out the area. This is what they had written here. That I might hear the murmur of the long waves against the rocks, that I might hear the sound of the sea like mourning beside a grave. Not the most cheeriest thought, is it? And that's me heading off. So it's a wee beach Shrove, which is just right in the mouth of Lough Foyle. And that's me heading off. Board ready. Gear ready. Sweating, so I just have my wetsuit bottoms on. These rocks are like so prehistoric looking. I do love taking pictures of them because I'm like,
Lough Foyle.
looks like a dinosaur inside of the out of the water sometimes.
Paddling out of Lough Foyle.
And it was very
The mouth of Lough Foyle. Friendly sheep.
This is one of the rocks. Like a big alligator's back or something.
Paddling out of Lough Foyle, that is behind me. Keeping close to the rocks today because the currents, it's quite slow going out of the loch. I remember that from last time I was paddling down to Port Ballantrae from McGilligan. Anyway, conditions better, less foggy for sure.
Thankfully, the fog was starting to lift. It looked a lot clearer. Look at that. And there's all the seals and lovely birds. There's the seal. So that's what they'd said about, all this lovely rich seafood, coming from the lochs into the ocean here. There's lots of animals. So it's beautiful, absolutely stunning. Coastline, the heading up here from the Foyle. Now you can still see some of the fog It is lifting, but it's still there. So it's very peaceful. And you can still see the fog over the tops of the mountains. Oh yes, and these were some ducks heading along the geese heading along the coastline. It comes so quickly when you watch the birds and the flocks. It is amazing when you're in the water watching them, like how they coordinate and how they know where they're going. It's amazing, these little animals, and they're doing their migrations. Just hear them. Big flock of geese. So it's October, so they may be heading off the stage. And oh, I saw some dolphins as well. It was pretty, really lovely. Seals, geese, dolphins. They're fairly flying along. And there's a boat flying over to see them too. And isn't it beautiful? Just really getting close now to Kildare where I'm finishing. Oh, and this was swans, flock of swans. This is coming into Kildare now. Usually I send them a quick picture of where I am because they've been very patiently waiting for me. Kildare Beach. Sky. No, this was, it was later in the afternoon now. It was starting to head, sun was coming down. Since I was up since sunrise and now coming in here, sun setting. This is a long day. There I am. That bright yellow speck in the sea coming in. Really lovely, lovely area called Daff. There I am coming out. And so here I am, just in from paddling 4.5 hours after doing about 2 to 3 hours this morning. I did Malin Head this morning, and then this afternoon I paddled from Struve, which is at the mouth of the Foyle in Ashone, and paddled up to Kildare, which is where I finished the other day. But it was very slow going. I think I was against the current for most of the time. But on a good note, I saw dolphins, I saw geese, I saw a flock of swans, I saw a seal, and it was blissfully calm and flat. I just felt like I was paddling through treacle the whole time. But anyway, I don't mind that when it's nice and calm and flat. So anyway, that is all of this weekend's paddle done around Malin Head. Tick, complete. Yay! Ready for a quick dip now. Bye. Slow going whenever you're dealing with water around a loch. So anyway, that was it. And a few highlights of just the trip. It was really nice meeting the Coast Guard. Are so lovely. I love calling them and letting them know what I'm doing, and they're always really interested. And that was me paddling around Malin Head itself. So it was a bit of an adventure. Anyway, it's looking back, it's very enjoyable. It's probably quite stressful and very tiring at the time, but I was just really determined to keep going. So that's Malin Head done. Thanks for watching.